I'm going to take my prior door, and you can just drop it in like this, and it has a door. But a true door has a little gapping. And so to get a true door, we want to have a little bit of space around the edges. And that's why doors have those rubber layers around them. That's why different doors are better at insulating and things, and a lot of that just has to do with how the door jamb and the rubber seal around the door actually interacts with the physical door closed. But game, you don't typically worry about those things. You're not walking around, you're not walking in and seeing the rubber seal, you're not paying close attention to the door jamb dimensions. You just want it to look right. And right now, if I take this out of 2D wireframe and we look at it in a realistic or hidden view you can see it, but in a realistic view, your door's gone. It's there, but you can't see it. Not shading. Now, if we were to take this over into another program and apply the graphics to it, this door is not going to suddenly you're going to have to apply graphics in order to identify the door and have it be different. But it becomes easier to do if you come in and you take your wireframe and we shrink down the door just a little, giving a little gapping, a little spacing. It's enough that the door should show, but not enough that it's basically see-through at the edges. So we're going to start with the height, and we're just going to drop it down to 31.5. And we're going to take the length, and we're going to drop that down to 14.5. Just very minor. Now, the top has a larger gap. We don't want that. In this case, the fact that it only maneuvers down at the top, we have to remember to go in and move this. And I'm going to click F8, and that turns on our ortho. And ortho guarantees that you're only going to move straight. So whether that's straight up, straight down, left, right, front, back, it guarantees you're moving in one of those 6 directions. So I want this to just go up 0.25. And now we have that gapping. So we come back in here and we hit our realistic view, and now the door exists. Can't see in. You can see the gray. Now if you have a perfect view, you might, but it's not going to be visible when you're playing a game. You're not going to accidentally have that. So now you have your door. Now a door, once you can get to a parent-child, you'll be able to have it swing. So taking this back out of realistic, we're going to go back into here. You would rotate it. You would be able to have that door open. You want to select the point that it can rotate from. And you can either choose to have it rotate from a center line here. A midpoint line here, and then turn my ortho off. So F8, turn that off, and you can see your door will swing. But if you're looking at it from the top or bottom, you'll notice that it turns and it affects that. But doors don't actually swing from that center point. Doors have your hinges, and so where your hinges are determine how it swings. So we're going to select that, and you have your rotation, and we'll select here. So now that door is designed to line up where it swings out. So you can build hinges on there and show that, but most home doors, the hinges are not going to be on the outside. They'll normally swing in for an exterior door, and that's for safety reasons. But once again, video game developer isn't so worried about the hinges. It's not uncommon where you'll play a game and the door will swing in or out. And they do that in some cases because if you do limit it to just one direction, it works fine in most cases, but it can push the character. It can end up where you're stuck behind a door. So, depending upon the design choices the designer makes, they'll want it to either swing in or out, or they'll have it swing on two separate hinges to give the proper look, and the hinges will not show. Look at most games, look at the doors. You'll find that most designers don't bother to actually put hinges on the door because it's one of those little details that no one really pays attention to. Because when you're walking past, you're not worried about the hinge. You're not looking at that. You're more worried about the environment, what's going on, what's the storytelling directing you to do, what's the situation that you're dealing with. So unlike real structural design, you can avoid some of those little details that an engineer or a structural designer or CAD designer would normally have spend painstaking amounts of time in order to be like, look, here's a hinge. So, yeah, just a whole different way of working with this type of thing. So, now I'm going to put a window in. So we're going to go back to our basic box. And actually, we're going to use this box. Let's go ahead and reuse this one. So we want some nice tall windows. So let's look at, I don't want them as tall as the door. I'm going to go ahead and round these back out to 15. But if you look at windows, they're oftentimes pretty close to the size of the door. Reason for that is because in a house, if there's a fire or there's some other issue, they want it so a person can climb out of a window and or have someone climb in a window to rescue people. But so if you're looking at a game design, you want to keep similar proportions to a door, at least as far as how wide it is. Now you can go bigger than that with things. If you're doing an office building or something, you might have these large glass panels that sit there and take up half the wall. But in your standard home, you don't have that. So we're going to come in here and we're just going to play with this a little bit. We're going to drop the height down to, let's say, 20. Seems like a good size. And we're just going to line that up with the top of our door jamb here. Now, you can't have it right on the door jamb. You have to have wall there. I mean, you got to have some space for it to look realistic. So we're going to go ahead and just drag this over. Now, if you hold shift while dragging, it will temporarily turn on your ortho. And when you release it, you're back to free flowing. But then ortho with shift, and that's a way to use it just quick and easy rather than having to hit F8 on and off to keep it that way. But if you're doing a lot of things together, that's a good way to do it, is just to turn the ortho on. Or if you're just doing one object, shift and hold makes life quick and easy. So I think I want 2 windows. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to have 2 windows next to each other. And give these a little bit of separation. Just because normally you have that little piece in the middle that is used to help those slide up and down. You could also do this as one long piece but I'm going to do it this way. So again, I'm going to take these out, or I'm going to copy them, and I'm going to move them out over here. And I'm going to subtract these from my house. I'm going to widen these out. Again, that's more just so I can ensure that it's going to take the entire square out that I'm wanting removed. And we'll hit subtract. I'm going to take the main part of my building here, and then I'm going to get these two objects and subtract them. Now we have open squares right into our house. And in some games, they may do that. Nowadays, you're going to have your glass in there. You may have individual panes that divide them up in order to give different things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop these. I'll show you really quick. So I'm sure you realized, but we go into realistic view. You can see in here, got the little bar between, and you can see directly in. But it doesn't give any different effect. So now I'm going to take that off and go back into it, and I'm going to grab these. Drop them in here. And I'm actually going to do a half and half. So we're going to take this, I'm going to slide it up, and then I'm going to take this and drag it back halfway. This is probably more detail than most game developers will do, but I enjoy having that little bit of realistic look here. You're not typically going to get someone that is going to bother with all that. Oh, I accidentally turned off my snap. That would be why. I'm just going to drop it here, and now we have a proper sliding window. So we could, in a game, theoretically, come in and have this so it can move parent-child, where the top one is the parent and it's stuck, isolated, cannot be moved, but you would be able to slide the window up and down. Most games, they don't bother with this, or it might be in a quick time scene where they have you press and jam a button down in order to slide this window up. But, you know, basic idea there, same parent-child build for that. So now I have my two parts of a window. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one out. And from here, I want to create the little panes that you see, the little glass panes. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to copy it. And I want to reduce this. So let's go ahead and stick it directly in here again. And let's say drop this to half, and let's move this up to half. Now we have a pane there. I'm going to say that's still larger than what I'm wanting, at least lengthwise. So you can do it that way. It's not going to look unusual, but I want to do a multi-pane look here. So take this and oh, I turned it off again, didn't I? Yep. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to drop this here. We're just going to come along and have that. And then I can do the exact same thing with this and drop it down. So copy, paste that there. Now we kind of have a window look, but they're too large. So I'm going to take all of these, and I'm going to drop them Length is currently 3.75, so let's just drop them to